Hello, my name is Tucker Johnson, founder of Nimdzi Insights, and today we are going to be digging into the preliminary findings from the Nimdzi 100, which is our annual deep dive into the language services landscape. If you are responsible for localization at a global brand, or you work inside an LSP, if you're interested in mergers and acquisition, or just anything related to the language services industry, this is what you want to be listening to, because we're going to be going over the preliminary findings. I'll remind you that the Nimdzi 100 report is not out yet. My guest today, Marjolein, is working hard to get that out to you in its entirety. So this is kind of a sneak peek that we're looking at today. And if you haven't already done so, make sure that you are subscribed to Nimdzi Insights. You're following us on LinkedIn, social media, YouTube, all of that stuff. We're coming to you live today, of course, on LinkedIn. And this recording will be available on our YouTube archive. So without further ado, let me introduce today's guest that I'm bringing on board here to help unpack everything that we're seeing so far. I'm joined by Marjolein Groot Nibbelink, who is leading the Nimdzi 100 research for the second year in a row. She's been in the weeds with the data, collecting inputs, stress testing assumptions, spotting patterns, and translating a mountain of numbers into insights that actually mean something for strategy. Marjolein brings a sharp analyst lens and a real-world understanding of how this industry works, which is exactly what you want when you're talking about rankings and industry analysis. Welcome back to Nimdzi podcast, whatever this is, Nimdzi Live today, Marjolein. Good to have you.
Thank you. And can I hire you for resume writing?
Anytime. I can spruce it up. I have the gift of bullshit. But which is good why I'm talking to you, because we're going to get into the data today. You've been out there talking to tons of different people, getting briefings from different sources in the industry, running surveys, which, by the way, I want to ask about the Nimdzi 100 survey. So you were just inundated with all of this data that is eventually going to culminate in the generation of the Nimdzi 100. What's the pulse check right now? And I want to focus too, like less on how was your experience running the Nimdzi 100, and more on like, hey, what insider information can you give us so far?
Yeah. Oh, well, it's a lot of questions, and I'll start with
pick whichever one's easiest.
The data that we have so far is probably about half of the data that we would really like to see at the point when the survey closes. So this is more than anything a reminder to any language industry provider, so tech dominant or service based, to take the survey. If you only do the basic questions, it shouldn't take you more than 20 minutes if you have your numbers ready. And then the rest is mostly optional, but you can spend a lot of time on it, which we love. We love that. So aside from that, which is open for another 10 days, aside from that, I am talking to industry leaders, but I'm making sure that I also touch base with mid-market segment players and also smaller LSPs. It's just really important to be able to create a full image of the industry, because aside from the Nimdzi 100 listing, which is the 100 largest language industry providers, so this year for the first time that includes the LTPs, like full on, they're there as well. There's a blurring of the lines. And pure LSPs are they're fading out. So yes, we're including LTPs, and most companies provide both language and both services and technology solutions anyway. So I am talking to people of all market sizes. The top 100 list is only such a small part of the report, and really I want to emphasize how much work gets put into creating the narrative of the state of the language industry. So that's really what we're asking the input for. That is the most valuable for us to be able to fabricate this report that's going to be like 70 pages long.
Well, and you bring up a few good points, and sorry I just threw a bunch of questions out there, but I think this is worth repeating, is that the Nimdzi 100 is not just a ranking of the largest LSPs. The Nimdzi 100, and this is probably my fault, it's bad branding, but the Nimdzi 100 is also a comprehensive market analysis that we do on an annual basis that is useful to so many different. It's good for so many different use cases out there. So it's important to recognize that, and also, I shouldn't say that Nimdzi is the one that facilitates this report. Right? This report is a culmination of a lot of different feedback from a lot of different people that you're talking to out there in the industry. And if people aren't making their voices heard, which is super easy to do when you've designed this quick survey for them, if people aren't making their voices heard, then they're missing out on the opportunity to shape the industry.
Shape the industry and to benchmark themselves, right?
True.
Like, we're not creating this, as you said, this report it's as a service from Nimdzi. That's how I
Yeah.
like to explain it, because you're saying it's a market research report. It is the market research report for the language industry. And I say that because it is the only one that's available for free. And so therefore it gets the most eyeballs. So it's free to benchmark against it. It's free to bring it into meetings and to point at stuff. The value of it is at its greatest if we get the highest number of people engaging in the survey.
Fair enough. Well, let's go through, because we have gotten some data back and some preliminary findings, and I don't want this, just for us to sit here for the next half an hour and beg people to fill out a survey. Let's add some value here. I want to look at these surveys. I took some of the data that you sent over and put it into a lovely little PowerPoint deck. We're not going to get through all of this. Revenue split. Here's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about this. Roughly 25% of respondents reported that they changed pricing to hourly rates instead of price per word in 2025. When I saw this, I was like, awesome. I've been talking about this for years. My general line is the industry needs hourly rates, but it's not ready for hourly rates. What have you found talking to people out there?
It's interesting because there is a split in belief that there are still large companies that believe that price per word is the best way to be competitive in a price pressure market, because it is the way to compare to previous pricing, right? If someone wants to buy stuff and they say, hey, price per word, how much is it? And then you have to explain them why you're not doing price per word anymore. So there still are those holdouts, and they have a good reason for holding out. Is this a great time for a global shift in how we are doing pricing? Yes, I think so, because software subscriptions are becoming a greater part of revenue, project-based, so you can have more long-term engagement with a client. And price per word is hard to keep a margin on if this is the consistent message from language industry providers. It is that their buyers think that AI and LLMs can solve all their problems and they can get 99% of their translation done for free. Yes, they want quality to be good. So then they pass it off to an LSP and say, hey, can you fix that 1%? Why on earth would I have to pay that much money for it? So that pricing pressure is forcing those LSPs to create a different way to have a margin so that they can stay in business. And one main way that companies are providing a what do you call that? A meerwaarde, augmenting the value of what they're offering, is by getting different talent onboarded. So you're seeing a lot of onboarding of MTQA specialists, and then of course MTPE, and those are huge services. They are booming right now. So with that, you're not really translating many words. Like, those people aren't translating words. They are coming in after the MT process. So their hours, though, are still very valuable. So you need to start splitting off the prices for your software, for your MT, and then the prices for your human services.
Yeah. And I think this is the adjustment period where a lot of people are really trying to figure out, okay, what is a technology problem, or a problem to be solved by technology? What is a problem to be solved by services? And I've seen different answers out there. People are playing around with it, and that's kind of the negotiation that we're having right now as an industry with ourselves. And technology is just evolving so darn quickly that it makes it hard to come to a consensus and stay on it. But the ultimate effects are the same, which is the pricing pressure is people are, let's look at it this way, people are looking at innovative or creative ways to change pricing without having to eat in their margins too much.
Yeah, and there is the great adjustment is what comes up a lot in my conversations and in what people put in at the survey. With great adjustments like the one that we're living right now, there's always a different amount of time that your buyers are going to need to adjust and that you're going to need to adjust as a provider. So huge amount of pressure to adopt this new technology, to use it. You know, that's your horse. But then you got to completely shuffle your staffing around. Meanwhile, the buyers are saying, like, this technology is here now. Why can't I have it now at this price? Like, we're being promised this huge thing because the developments in AI are front and center. Everybody knows what's going on, but they don't know what's going on inside language service or language providers and the amount of adjustment it takes for them to change their workflow. So then you have to have that conversation. Do people want to listen? No, they're just thinking that you're clarifying why you're still going to charge a boatload of money, even though they know for sure in their minds that they should be getting this for nearly free.
Well, and that's the conversation that's happening between a lot of clients and their vendors right now, which is, hey, why am I not getting a lot cheaper rates from you with all of the latest innovations? And sometimes they're absolutely right. It's time for the LSPs to step up. But I've also seen a lot of times the LSPs have been doing really innovative stuff behind the scenes that the client doesn't even know about it. And in true LSP fashion, I worked for LSPs for a long time. I identify as a vendor side project manager, so I say this with all love, but in true LSP fashion, we kind of screwed the pooch from an account management standpoint because we weren't good about selling all of these things that we were already doing. So now we have clients coming and asking, well, what more can you do for me? It's like, well, we're kind of doing a lot already.
Yeah. Well, but the scenario that you're painting is kind of ideal, which is where a client comes up to you and says, and asks and shows an interest.
Yeah.
And that is what a lot of people are not experiencing right now. A lot of companies are saying there's just an email from some middle manager and they're saying you need to cut those rates.
So there's no conversation. This is the new reality. Get used to it.
Yeah, but the great adjustment is definitely happening.
Yep.
And if we compare the data from this year to what we got last year, so just to clarify, what was going on in 2024, great anxiety, right?
Yeah.
About this thing happening. ChatGPT came out, and before the end of the year, there was GPT-3, and it was like going so fast. So there was an anxiety. And a lot of companies have been able to adjust this year, 2025, the year that we're reporting on. They have been able to adjust. So there is still a lot of pricing pressure. A lot of changes are being made, and the future looks kind of bright. And I'm not going to be overly optimistic. Linguists are losing their jobs. CSA reported 15% of linguists just basically quit last year. But if you look at the overall staffing levels, what we're seeing, there's only about like a 5.5% reduction overall in staff. And we still see a humble growth of the size of the industry overall. So it's not, the future isn't dark, but it is kind of a sink or swim moment.
Yeah, you're spitting out facts faster than I can bring them up here. I want to go back to the cost reductions because as I was going through all the different data that you sent me, and this is interesting to me. No, not this one. Hold on. I mean, they're all interesting, but this one's interesting to me. Nearly 80% of respondents plan to keep prices the same in 2026. So 14% of LSPs are looking at raising prices. About 6% of LSPs are looking at reducing prices, but the vast majority are going to keep prices the same. Now, this data doesn't back up the anecdotal everything is on fire narrative that I hear from 15% of linguists leaving, and everything getting replaced by AI and it being erased to the bottom. The data just doesn't support that.
Yeah. Well, you do have to consider that keeping prices the same does mean a bit of
Inflation.
a loss for a company, considering inflation. However, I'm kind of a positive thinker. I'm a glass half full kind of person. But if you're keeping your rates the same, and at the same time you're making these investments and these shifts and these changes in adopting this new technology and making sure your workflow is right, and then also spending a lot of extra time talking to your clients and trying to attract new clients and explaining what you're doing, that sounds like a rush, right? If you're excited about what you do and you kind of have a handle on stuff, you're working with the same budget, you need to invest a bunch of stuff. This is the place where creativity happens. Who did that quote? You probably know it, right? Like it's in hardship where creativity flourishes. So that's what I'm trying to hold out hopes for. And
That is
last
so
year,
optimistic. I love it. It is so
well,
like not the way that I think, but I love that there's people like you in the world, because
well,
I don't want to live in a world full of me's.
last year we asked people a lot, what are you doing about this AI thing? And they're like, man, oh man, I don't know. Like it's going so fast. I don't even know. I have some idea, but I have no plan.
Yeah.
And then plans developed through the year. Now I'm talking to the same people and they're saying, we have a plan. We're seeing some things work, some things don't. The pricing pressure is absolutely horrendous. That is a really big hardship. And then tariffs, which is another thing I want to talk to you about. International trade, economy, and military. Like these are huge things. So stuff's happening. Chances are getting lost. New chances are arising.
Yeah. Let me pull up this. Three main business challenges pressure. We talked about pricing pressure, order volumes, and implementing new technology. Pretty much covered all of that right there, and that's a really good point about even if prices are remaining the same, there's an R&D cost. This is an investment period for a lot of LSPs out there that are working to develop new and or to keep up with old technologies out
Yeah.
there. As
If I just can talk about order volume, because I don't think we addressed that. So if companies are developing, or adopting AI, they're really good at prompt engineering, they have great MT, like full human in the loop MT solutions. They're like, hey, we're ready for a boatload of volume, and the volume's not coming. So there needs a
that's a
greater expression from the language industry to global business to say, you can send anything now, like send it fast, send boatloads. We can take care of it.
interesting. So the order volume being a main business challenge slash pressure point is not so much because volumes are decreasing, it's because they're not increasing at the rate people expected them to when
That
developing
is
the
my
solutions.
interpretation at the time.
No, that's what we're doing here. It's interpretation.
Mhm.
No, it's an
Yeah.
interesting point. Thank you for bringing it up. I hadn't thought about that before. But going back to, since we're kind of on technology now, what are the main just like vibe differences talking to people last year about their optimism about implementing technology, where they saw AI was going, versus talking to people 12 months later? I'm very interested in that because the technologies continue to improve, but perception, I'm assuming, has changed around it.
Mhm. Yeah, I feel that last year there was a real sense of, well, we're going to have to try this thing,
Like,
whether or not.
shit. Let's.
Uh,
This is my life now.
yeah, and people are. I have heard people talk about just reconsidering their line of business completely because they didn't get into this because of tech. They got into it because of language and culture, right?
Fair
So
enough, right? Like if that's why you got into it and you love it,
yeah,
it's less about that nowadays, except for
and then
niches.
and then some companies are saying like, hey, we can't make this work out.
Yeah.
Like we can't make these investments to create proprietary technologies, which I'm sure you're going to cover later. About 50% of companies say that they have developed proprietary technology in 2025. And people who don't, I'm noticing them reaching out to those who do have the technology and entering into creative partnerships or strategic partnerships. And I saw way more of those than I have in many years. So I read up all the press releases that came out in 2025, and I'm kind of familiar with, what kind of press releases and how many were coming in before, because I was running multilingual for so long. A lot of strategic partnerships on technology. So that is a solution without having to, recreate the wheel completely.
And I think it's a win for everybody. It allows the different organizations to focus on their core competencies. If you're a tech company, you can focus on that. If you're a language company, you can focus on that without having to fully convert over into technology. And if you're a client, you get the benefit of both. At the end of the day, the LSPs are problem solvers. Just the problems are shifting and the way that we solve them are kind of shifting. But this was interesting to me. I actually didn't expect this number to be this high of companies that are developing in-house technology. So one of my questions was there any limit on that? Doesn't mean like they're developing a full-blown TMS. It just means they're developing something internally, right?
Right. Okay. Something internally. And then these 3 are the main 3 in order of appearance. So what surprises me there so far, and like I said, we're still waiting for more survey entries and more information to come in, but that MT related tools is not at the top. It's BMS, then TMS, and then MT related tools.
Yeah, well, I think that is that lines up with my hypothesis or my thesis about the industry. Is we will remain a services industry that is focused on solving problems through supply chain innovation, essentially, right? That's what an LSP does. It just happens to be that our supply chain is translators historically, and we provide human translation. The supply chain is shifting. We see that with the new partnerships, right? And the fact that most LSPs, given a choice, a zero-sum choice of where they are going to invest their R&D budget, yes, let's invest that into BMS, business management systems, because that's going to allow us to do our core competency of managing the crazy, essentially managing the whole process.
But pure linguistics is changing, though, because even though you can still, you have a skill set that's services based, you need to understand at least what's going on with technology. So there's a lot of internal investment in staffing. There's a lot of education. There's a lot of benefits. The linguists that are out there, they do need to understand these tools. They need to at least be able to talk about them so that they can sell themselves.
Yeah.
You can't sell yourself over a tool that everybody thinks is the greatest thing since sliced bread if you can't articulate what you have over that tool. So you need to understand your competitor, which if you're going to see it that way, if AI is your competitor, if you see it that way, you need to learn about it. And maybe when you do, you could see how you can work together.
And we've noticed this for a while here at Nimdzi, and that we've have a whole service developed around this, which is going to market right now. I don't want to get in the way of any announcements, but like Nimdzi Purple, a big part of the...
Oh, it's live today. People can check it out.
It is live today. Okay, so people can check it out, but it's not the point of what we're doing here, but it's worth mentioning. Tell us about Nimdzi Purple.
Purple Nimdzi is fully focused on AI strategy and AI adoption and workflow for international business. It's a subsidiary of Nimdzi, and the domain name is purple.nimdzi.com.
You're too quick. I couldn't even pull it up. So we're live
and
today.
I made this website, and it's very pretty.
This is a very awesome website. No, but the whole point of this is because we saw a need on the market for companies that wanted to leverage new technologies and define strategies around that, and just didn't know where to start. Really,
why do it alone?
Right. Yeah.
Why do it alone?
That's the thing. Even if you do know where to start, it's really good to partner with someone on that, so that you can make sure that you're not missing out on anything. But anyways.
And you're efficient, and you can figure it out yourself. But again, reinvent the wheel. Why? This is a big deal. This whole AI thing is a huge deal. So doing it alone, sure, you can figure it out. I can figure out how to build a house. with
You
YouTube
could,
video.
but
It's
why
going
not
to
pay
be
the experts?
hard. It's
Yeah,
going to take
exactly.
a boatload of time. If I don't have that time and I have people nagging me for lower prices at the same time, you want to make that adoption fast and efficient. And then in the end, you're going to get that investment back.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Hey, I want to look at we're gonna cut this, try to keep it to like half an hour today, but one last slide I wanted to look at here was
Oh, this is what I wanted to talk about.
yeah,
Yeah.
because this is really great. I kind of took two things and put them on one slide. So talk us through this.
Well, there's some steady ones here that we're used to seeing. So revenue and demand up by service is always going to be, sorry, no, I'm looking at, oh, how did you lay this out? No, show me
Did I
again.
not did I not
Here.
copy these in here? So revenue and demand change per service. So shifting up the services that we see shifting demand shifting up for AI text content creation and editing, machine translation, post editing. We've talked about prompt engineering, data and AI services. What's going down at the service level is translation, localization, obviously, subbing, staffing, linguistic staffing, and then we have it split up by vertical rather than by service. So what's going up? Video games, security, life sciences. What's going down? Leisure, packaged goods, automotive, nonprofits, NGOs. And now I'm done narrating for our podcast listeners. I'll let you provide commentary.
So indeed, in the verticals, there's a lot of usual suspects. Video games has been doing great for, what would you say, 15, 20 years. It's always in there. And by the way, this is only the ones where we've only mentioned here those verticals and those services that see both an increase in revenue and demand at the same time.
Yeah.
There's somewhere you see revenue increase and not the demand increase, and blah. There's all sorts of ways to explain that, but this is where you really see a strong up or down trend. So what really stands out, I think, in the services is you have the on the shifting down, traditional translation and localization. Yes, the subbing I was interested in because media is so big. So I'm still dying to hear more detail from those companies engaging in subbing. How is that? I can't make sense of that. So this is one of the most fun things about doing this is you see some data and
You
it
answer
triggers something. You're like, wow, I'm really curious. Like I majored in economics. I find that stuff super interesting. Global economy, geocultural issues, absolutely interesting. So I see that. I want to know what's going on. So let me use this as a reminder for people. The survey has a bunch of like tick boxes and you can click stuff, but there are more open questions and those create so much of the narrative. It is so interesting for me to read all those comments and I read all of them. So do use them. Say others. Say, hey, do you have anything else to add? Don't think that that is just going to be ignored or used in some, pointless way. Like, that really helps me understand.
Yeah, the survey, it's not too scary. We've been doing this for 4 years, so we try to design the survey in such a way.
Did you say 4 years?
No, we've been doing it 4 years. So
okay, yeah,
FOR.
8 years.
Yeah, we've been doing it 9 years now. So survey's not too intimidating. Don't be intimidated. And really, this is your opportunity. If you have an LSP, even if you think, oh, we've never made it on the Nimdzi 100 before, that mid-market research, we're very interested in that. And this is low-hanging fruit.
Not only LSPs. Remember, LSP,
Right.
LTP, a language industry provider. That is the new thing. So we
Correct.
have 3 segments of the survey, and the first questions are going to trigger those segments. It's going to be your services specifically. It's going to be pure technology, and it's going to be interpreting. So we have those sections separated out. It's going to enable us to do more in terms of the report writing and also reports going forward. So this isn't only for the state of the language industry. And the other main thing I wanted to mention is we always have a specific article on women leaders, women leadership and women-led companies. in our industry,
Right.
and also the mid-market ranking. So last year we did it for the first time. We had the number 100 to 250. We would love to expand that list, and I'm already seeing way more engagement from the mid-market, and I say keep it coming.
Awesome. Well, I think on that note, that's a great note to end on. Marjolein, thank you so much for making the time for it, sharing some of these preliminary results. Folks, I will just urge you, go talk to Marjolein, fill out the survey, of course, but talk to Marjolein. She's very accessible. And if you feel strongly about anything that you want to make sure gets into
Send us your rant.
send us the rant. And we should have a letters to the editor section. Anyways, I digress. Marjolein, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm going to take us out today. Ladies, gentlemen, chat, we are out of time. If you enjoyed this live experience, then make sure you go to the Nimdzi Insights LinkedIn page, click over to the events tab, and see what upcoming live events that we have planned for the future. I appreciate my guest today, Marjolein. I appreciate my colleagues here at Nimdzi Insights doing all the hard work so we can have these interesting conversations. And finally, I appreciate you, the audience, who are joining us live today or watching the recording. I look forward to next time. Cheers.